Hi, I got involved with 400 Contacts because I love projects like this, simple, practical, and it just seemed like exactly the right answer to one particular problem. The Swedish tech sector has a serious skill shortage, and quite a lot of the incoming refugees, immigrants, and any number of people who did not come from Sweden come with quite a great deal of technical skills. But anytime you're coming from another city, it can be 2 hours away, it can be a day away by airplane, you're out of your professional network. And everyone knows that most jobs come through the professional network. So giving people rapid access to creating that network for themselves is really what's needed. And so what I want to show you is how to create an online profile that's a clear picture of who you are and what you want so you can network effectively. And the nice thing about this is almost anybody can use this information somehow. So whether there's people who are desperately job hunting right now or who just want to have a little bit of a tune-up, it's actually the same principles and the same approach, no matter what your needs are. There we are. I'll be talking about LinkedIn because it's very popular. It's when I go to networking events, that's what everybody's exchanging, but the information is applicable widely. The nice thing about LinkedIn is it's quite flexible. There's a lot of things you can do with it. So I'm going to explore the full range of that, at least in brief. But first, what do I mean by online reputation? So first, let me ask you this. Before you came here, who checked me out on online? Yeah, good. Who checked out somebody else? Yeah, okay. All right, so don't be shy. I know you won't be. What did you want to know?
Who you are.
Mm-hmm.
What have you done?
Mm-hmm.
Background.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so, people, it ranges from, some people are just nosy, I check people out because I'm just nosy. Sometimes if it's someone in my field, I want to see how my profile matches up to theirs to see how they've expressed certain things. Usually there's a goal of some kind. And, oops, I don't even know how I did that. Sorry. Here we go. And what channels did you look at? Just LinkedIn?
LinkedIn and maybe Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just
LinkedIn. Yeah, I know. I'm setting myself up. You give a talk on how to use LinkedIn. People want to know how you're using LinkedIn. My profile's not perfect, but it is an example of what I'll be talking about. Mostly we check somebody out because it's about trust. We want to know what to think about somebody. We've got a name, we've got kind of a zone, and we want to know what our opinion is. We want to know that going in. So this is your reputation. It's what's known about you. It's what people think of first when they hear about you. And it's whatever people say it is. The really hard thing about it is it's not in your control. These are passive verbs. What other people think, what other people say, what is known, not what you know. So that's a little bit of a hard pill to swallow, that it's not in your control. But it's good to remember. That said, some things are in your control. Your words are in your control. Your actions are in your control. Their opinion isn't, but you have the chance to control a little bit of what they hear to an extent. So that's what we're here to talk about, how to make your words and your actions create their opinion. Right. Because people like to talk. Every time I approach any form of communications task, I'm always putting myself in the shoes of the other person. Communication is not about what you want to say, it's about what you want other people to hear. And that really is a different way of looking at it when you start approaching the task that way. So for online reputation, you need to know why they're checking you out. And mostly people have just one question in mind. They want to know, how can you help me? And if they're especially generous, they also want to know how they can help you. But in a network, as you know, it's an exchange of favors. These are very much the same question. They want to know where the possibility for that exchange, short-term, long-term, what they can use out of you that they can give to somebody else so that that person owes them a favor. That's good, actually. This is how connections are created. So your profile has to answer that question. How can you help me? I specialize in business storytelling. I teach people how to organize their information in story form, cause and effect, beginning, middle, and end. And that's not just because it's cute. It's because it's how we remember information. It's a way to really make your message land. And it's because it makes the message land right. It's effective for creating action. And that's, of course, what you're trying to do with your networking. You don't want just, you know, your LinkedIn profile isn't going on your grave when you die. This is not a legacy. This is a tool to create an action that you want right now. So to create action, this is the key. When I say that you need to use storytelling, I don't actually mean you need to, that wasn't me. Oh, it was me. I don't actually mean that you need to tell your story. The trick is, this is the magic of everything I do. You tell their story with you in it. When I'm talking to people about product writing, I tell them that your product is a plot point in someone else's story, and if it isn't, they will never buy it. And if it is, they will. It's as simple as that. And that approach, somebody else's story and where you fit in, is what creates action. Because, as I said, your reputation, how somebody feels about you, it's not in your control. But if you can make it go your way, then you will get what you want. So here's an example of story mismatch in a job hunting situation. Oh, sorry, I missed some things. That's what happens when I don't scroll down. So maybe your story really is this: I need a job so I can eat and pay rent. I have many skills and I will happily use any of them. True story. Everyone's been in this position at some point. However, it doesn't necessarily make the match. And the part that's extremely difficult when that really is, these are the most important facts to you, when it really is an emergency situation or anywhere close to an emergency situation. You don't want to put yourself in a position of letting anybody say no to you. You want to make sure that you just unpack everything you've got, so that they can use it. They can see how you can help them. Because if you're willing, chances are you can help lots of people. That said, I heard somebody a couple weeks ago describe that approach as like having a suitcase without a handle. That you may have all these things in your suitcase, but if you've got nothing to pick it up with, you can't move that thing. So it's the same. So this is really your story. I need the job, I have many skills, but this is their story. It's much less emotional. I need a medium-skilled developer with security experience so that they can work competently under my lead developer, who's a little bit of a control freak, and her project is to create a new system for detecting DDoS attacks. That's their story. They might care, they might be human beings who are very interested in helping all kinds of people, but they're busy and they're not going to see how you fit into their story unless you really tell them. Now, to match that story, something like, I've done work with testing systems and I found it interesting. I'd like to continue learning under someone with more experience. That's what you want, but it matches all of their needs. Therefore, they're more likely to pay attention. This you pretty much always know. If you can make what you have match what they want, then you're more likely to create a match. But of course, this is online. You're not in a conversation with someone. You can't ask everybody who's going to check out your LinkedIn profile, what do you want? Let me tell you how I can give it. There's some guesswork involved. You don't know who's reading it. So I'll answer that. But I first want to clear up some misconceptions. What LinkedIn isn't. Very important to know this. It's not a CV. A CV is about the past. Your networking is about your present and your future. If they want your CV, they can ask you for your CV. And if they really want it, they will ask. But you don't actually need to lead with that. LinkedIn is your sales pitch. It's not your technical specification of everything that's true about you. It's not a permanent record. Again, the CV, this tends to be pretty standard, especially if you're in one of the more conservative professions. You put things down, you don't change them. Maybe if you think of a better way to express it, you're going to rewrite the thing. But chances are you're gonna lay new bricks on top of that wall. And LinkedIn doesn't work by itself. It's just a tool. It's part of an action strategy. You have to create the action strategy around your message, and LinkedIn backs you up. It doesn't necessarily lead. So knowing this and knowing that you're going in trying to answer, can you help me? Remember that thing about the CV being about the past. Your reputation is really about the present. It's about the past a little. Here's how time works, though, in terms of what we really care about when we're going and checking somebody out. This is another mindset. The future is what we care about. That's what motivates us. We're always trying to build that. And if you're still living in the past, you probably need therapy. That's considered dysfunctional. We're all looking forward. Now is what we remember. The most important thing is what's going on right now. The second most important thing is the last thing you did. After that, it becomes a lot less relevant unless you killed somebody. And the past is what we trust. So certainly, I'm not saying that you never talk about the past. When you checked me out, if you had more than 2 minutes, you probably found out what I was doing 6 years ago. You may have seen my extremely honest review of my worst job ever, which is on my LinkedIn. It matters a bit, but that job's not telling you what I can actually do. It's telling you a bit about my personality that I would talk about it that way. So now I want to get down to the actual sections of LinkedIn to bring it together and to show you in more practical terms exactly how I'm talking about using this sort of information. The summary is your most important section. That's the one that's the quick answer. When someone says, can you help me? They have to see in your summary what kind of help you can offer. No details, but this is your sales pitch. You don't have to be too specific. If you don't want to be. If you are in the position of saying, I've got lots of skills, I would happily develop any of them for you, that is okay to say, but it's got to be in there. And what you want could be any number of things. Could be a job, could be an introduction, could be information, it could be a new connection. This is something that you can use. I recommend rewriting your summary every couple of months, no matter where you are in your career. It's the way your colleagues are checking you out too, even if you have a job. It's the way that that people can know within your company that you're interested in growing in a different direction, taking on new projects. It's not always about job hunting, which is the other way you can know that it's not a CV, because that really is just a job hunting document. LinkedIn is about managing your whole professional reputation. Making connections with colleagues in other companies, learning to see your industry a bit wider. So what you want, what you're looking for, make sure it's in there. Give people a reason to reach out to you. Now I stressed for a couple of days trying to figure out what to say in this presentation, because I know I'm dealing with a very split audience. That on the one hand, we have mentors who presumably have signed up because they have jobs. They may well be quite well placed in their career. And then you have people who don't have the luxury of managing their career to a high degree, that it's much closer to the emergency situation. That said, you can take two different approaches and they still end up using the same techniques. If you are safe, you can be ambitious, you can be demanding. Me, I'm in the position right now where because of family, my rent is paid. So I'm in the position of being able to say, I want to take exactly these projects. I want to do projects like this first and a certain percentage of them, and I'll take on a bit of this if it comes up, and I won't do this kind of work because it's a waste of my time. I'm very lucky. You can be ambitious when you're safe. You have to be a little more cautious, but you can still show potential. And that's the part that is true of everybody. Whether you are able to be ambitious or you don't have that luxury, potential is always the thing you talk about, because that's always the thing that somebody else responds to. That's that future that I was talking about. We're growing towards the future. And when you express the potential that you see in yourself, what you could grow into, that excites somebody who's going to give you a job, even if it's not an especially ambitious match at the moment. That's still something that will get them to notice you. And that's that is backed up by research. I'm pulling that from a client who works with his CV and cover letter assessment, has done quite a lot of research on what causes people in recruiting to actually stop and put you on the let's talk to this person pile. The sense of potential actually overwhelms our reason, which is great for you. It's good to know that that's a psychological trick to play. In sports gambling, in salary negotiation, and in hiring, it's been shown that most people will choose the person of lower skill but high potential rather than the seasoned professional who doesn't look like they have a lot of room to grow. It's a little unreasonable, but make unreason work for you, which is the license to be ambitious, even when you don't feel like you can be. You can always state what you want right now, but express what that stepping stone is. And that's where your story fits in. That's where you get to say that little bit of it. And the person who says, how can you help me? And who wants to be part of your growth too, that is part of it. Your ambition actually reflects well on anybody who's hiring you. In the experience section, if they want your CV, send them your CV. What you get to show here is progression. It's not just the bare facts of what you did, although you definitely will say that. It's also what you learned. It's the effect you had on something. This is where you keep in mind narrative of some kind. For almost every job, you were different at the end than at the beginning. And if you weren't, you were probably dissatisfied with the job. And that's good. It's good to be dissatisfied with that kind of job. So as much, this is where personality and values come across, that when you say how things change because of you, the things that are meaningful to you are telling your reader quite a lot about your character. So you don't have to write the cover letter paragraph that says my values are X, Y, and Z, my high priority is this other thing. By what you say here, you actually show a lot of that. And you express your level of ambition, that level of potential. Same with education. Depending on how far or near that education is, it may be more or less relevant, but it's another chance to show who you are, to give people a way to interpret you. It's not just what you studied, it's why you studied it. It's what your goal was going in, and whether you met that goal, whether your goals changed over time. Failed education has a purpose too. You can choose whether to put it in or not, but if you left a program because you, in the middle of that, discovered something about yourself, that's not failure, that's self-knowledge, and that's very valuable in an employee. And now we get into the actions section a little more. LinkedIn has a section for showing your connections, so that's anybody you've accepted a request for, and recommendations. When you connect for real. 10,000 people connected to you that you don't have any real relationship to, doesn't matter. Make a connection. People have different rules. There are some who really will only accept a connection that they truly want in their very small network. Some people are much wider. I got lots of LinkedIn requests when my name started going up on the Facebook group, and I said yes to all of them because that's where I am right now. I will happily be connected to all kinds of people, but I hope they reach out to me as well. I'm open to that. because it's not just a connection on the screen. What matters is if you actually can send a message to that person, if you can get to know them somehow, even online. Recommend generously. It's another way to foster those ties. And by all means, let other people write recommendations for you, but control the message if at all possible. If you know what action you're trying to create right now, if you know what key messages you're trying to say about yourself, make sure that the people who write the recommendations for you are supporting that. Otherwise, it's quite clear, and then the recommendation doesn't have any weight. Basically in these areas, no one is counting the numbers. People are only ever counting the quantity or the quality. And here's the next level. If you feel like you have the time and energy, and certainly if you don't have a job, or if you're looking to make a significant change, put your attention here, either on LinkedIn or somewhere else online or in real life. You can join groups, and often people are sharing articles, asking questions, having discussions. They should be on a professional topic of interest to you, and it's just a chance to be alive on the internet. You're starting to build your own, the examples of what it is like to work with you, what your thoughts are. Comment on articles and share them. It's a way to keep your name live in the feed of your connections. Have an opinion and share it. This is another way to show ambition, even if your actual job hunting activities or career management activities are not ambitious at the moment. This is a place to show where the potential is, and it's a place to find your own potential as well. I mean, I think a lot of us feel like where we are is where we are, and other people who are high performers in the field are over there. But when it comes down to it, there's not that much difference in the intelligence and experience of people in those different groups. There's something to be said for jumping in and acting as if you already have the eyes of the world on you. It's a way to cause that to happen. And the last level, if you have a lot of time on your hands or express yourself well that way, create something. These are varying levels. You can say, yes, that's interesting, and ask a good question here. You can frame something that's happening in your industry with your own perspective here, and you can create something brand new to attract other people there. Find your comfort zone with that. So the question on everyone's minds is, how can you help me? It's in your communications. Show them how you can help them tell their story with you in it. If you check me out on LinkedIn, you'll see that my work is business storytelling, and I joined this organization to help people get their CVs and cover letters in order. I do it because I like to feel like I'm doing something useful to help the situation. So I invite any of you and anybody live streaming to get in touch with me. That's what I am hoping people will ask me for help about. Okay.
Thank you.